So Bitcoin is continuing to act unusual. It is dragging out this retracement, not really giving clear signs as to what it wants to do. We have just SFP'd the low of this 1 hour structure, this internal structure from this high up here. And this is like the sixth SFP, something like that. So we had one SFP there, two there, three, four, and even zooming in, we technically had a SFP here and then an SFP that low. So yeah, you can call that 5 and 6. Or you can just call this 1 because from this low we didn't even really close a candle below this. We didn't form any structure here. So yeah, on the 1 hour I wouldn't call that two lows. That'd just be one low. Yeah, it feels like Bitcoin is just drawing out its decision, taking its sweet time with doing something significant here. We know that, we just got this downtrend that brought us out of this larger range. We know that there's a chance that we can retrace a lot farther from here, but we also did just have a bullish break in structure, although not a very strong one. We got the break in structure. We took a long time to put in that higher low just to barely get a break at the higher high. We actually SFP'd it, which is a bearish thing. We barely put in a higher high there, so it is not great follow through from this break in structure. But I want to go over my thoughts on Bitcoin in case we do end up seeing something significant soon. Maybe the higher low for this retracement is potentially in. The last one did take a long time to be put in. And we do have FOMC in half an hour from when I'm recording this. So by the time this is out, it probably will already have happened. But we did do a few significant things that are worth talking about. Number one, we got to move into this 3 hour order block that I talked about in my video on August 8th. And this is like the lowest demand zone from this leg up, from this higher low in the primary structure. And so far we have dipped into this area and SFP'd the low, which, is kind of a bullish thing heading into demand. And even though this took a very long time to get here, even though it was very weird price action on the way down, it is possible that, Bitcoin just wanted to come down to this 3 hour order block to fill that and then go on to continue with the primary structure. But I would say that if we start to break structure bullishly here after getting a move down to here, it would look better. Now, we did get a false break in the structure before. We got a break in structure right here, but then just went on to put in, well, it wasn't a break in structure. We SFP'd the low, and then we SFP'd the low again, but, the break in structure didn't really give us follow through like I would have wanted. But maybe now that we hit this 3 hour order block, a break in structure could give us the follow through that we want. So that is something that I'd be paying attention to. We do have a lower high that is, much closer to price. This was, a good enough move for me to call a market structure, but we didn't get a very large move to the upside. So that actually can work in our favor because we will get the break in structure sooner. And that would give us a better chance to get into a long trade, whether you're, entering here in validation here and just hoping that we get a good move off of it, or if you want to wait for a retracement to try and get a better entry. Having a lower high that is, lower, and, especially given the context of what you're trading, it's at the low end of what the target would be. I would probably be at least targeting this high with some of my trade. I'd obviously take profits along the way, but there is a chance that this ends up being the higher low in structure, so this makes sense for a target. And I did already take a long of this SFP. I just traded it as an SFP. Once we got a move up there and started to look like we were going to close on the 1 hour, I entered, and on the time frames lower than the 1 hour, we did not SFP it, which is why I wasn't super confident in it. We had originally SFP'd this low on some of the lower time frames, but then we got this move down. But on the 1 hour, we started to wick back up. We hadn't closed the candle yet. We were like 10 minutes out from closing, so just decided to take a little long on that. I did have my stop a little loose on this one, so, it's not great risk reward, but if we get a move up to somewhere around these highs, I'll lock in about 1% of it, and then I'll put my stop loss at entry. But yeah, I'd say bullish case scenario is that we end up breaking structure here, and, there is potential that this ends up being the primary structure high or low. just to kind of go over structure, I have it marked out here. This is the primary structure. This is where we broke bullishly. We put in a high or low, and then we did get an SFP of the high, a bearish thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to come down to this low and lose it. There is a higher chance of it since we SFP this high, but we have gotten a significant move down from here. We did get a move into that 3-hour order block, so it did do something significant. We got to move down to the lowest high time frame order block in this leg of structure. That could potentially be enough. And so what I've done here is I've marked out internal structure after the last market structure point was put in. So the internal structure from that high, which looks like this. And I do have to update this because, we got that bullish break in structure. And then we came down to SFP the low again. And now the structure looks like this. So even though both of these were SFPs, we didn't actually close below low. I'll still count it as structure. Since we put in a low and then put in a lower low after that, I would count this as a lower high, even though we didn't ever close down below there. And that means that I can actually delete this folder because this is just the internal structure of the internal market structure. So I have it marked 2x internal structure. It's basically just the structure from this internal market structure point, and these both give the same answer. They both say that this is the lower high in structure, and this could even be a Wyckoff since we did get 2 SFPs of the low on the 1 hour, so maybe that is another reason to target this high up here. And if we get a move up to that high, we would be breaking structure bullishly, so that is another positive thing for this idea. And let's say we get a move up to break structure soon. I would probably look to enter on a retracement even if I'm still in that long, if we do something like that. And this is a potential area to pay attention to. Just pretty much looking at this last leg to the downside. So these 2 purple candles before we put in that low. I would look somewhere in this box. I'm sure that would be past the 0.5 retracement. So, that'd be good enough to get at least a decent risk reward. Targeting this high again. It's actually a golden pocket, or around a golden pocket. So I would maybe look to do something like this if we break structure, because there is potential that this could bring us up to this high to attempt to continue the primary structure. And I think there's a better chance of the primary structure continuing now that we have hit that 3-hour order block. So I think the chances of us having put in the higher low in primary structure is slightly greater than it was back here. Now, I do want to talk about market cipher real quick because the money flow is not looking great on most time frames. We are putting in lower lows in this local trend of money flow on the 4-hour, and on most time frames it's taken a serious drop here. It's not looking very good. Doesn't mean that we can't put in a bottom here. It usually looks better when the money flow is increasing, maybe diverging from price as we put in the low, and that is usually a stronger sign of a low, but it can still be put in here. Maybe the money flow is able to turn around, but I do have to say it's not looking very good right now. We can look at some of the lower time frames like the 15-minute, and this is barely diverging from this low. And the local trend, it's still putting in lower lows, so it's not looking very strong locally. And compared to this wave, we are pretty close to it. We just barely put in a higher low if it turns around here, and it could very easily continue to the downside. So market cipher is not looking very good for a low, I have to say, but it's possible that that doesn't matter. Not every low is put in on a divergence. So, even though it's looking pretty bad right now, I have to say, I wouldn't completely ignore the possibility of this being a higher low, especially if we now come up to break structure. And I think bearish case scenario is pretty clear. If we get a move down, another move down, and start to close 1 hour structure, at least 1 hour candles down below this low, things would be looking a lot bearish. Even if we get another move back to the downside, I'd say things are not looking very good. There's a chance that we can continue a downtrend and are just able to flip it back bullish before taking out this low. Yeah, it's possible, but I would not be betting on that idea. I don't think that's the most probable scenario. If we continue inching to the downside, I think there's a good chance that we come for this low, and maybe we SFP it, or maybe we close down below it, and that would be the most bearish thing that could happen right now. Alright, well, I think that's about it for this one. I'm going to try and edit this before the FOMC so I can pay attention to the charts while that's happening. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I will see you all in the next video.